She was 3 years old. 3. And they found her body in a shallow grave, right in her own backyard. Naked, bruised, tossed like trash. And the ones who put her there, they were supposed to love her. You're watching an unbelievable true story, where we only tell real stories. Not to scare you, but to prepare you. This happened in Kent County, Delaware, July 2019, the middle of summer. Her name was Emma Grace Cole, a bright-eyed little girl who should have been eating ice cream and playing with dolls. Instead, she was beaten, starved, locked away like she didn't matter. Emma was staying with her aunt and uncle, Christy and Brandon Haas, while her dad was trying to get his life together. They said they'd care for her, but instead, they tortured her. Every day, for months. They didn't let her go to school. They didn't take her to the doctor. They didn't even feed her enough. And one day, her tiny body gave out. They didn't call 911. They didn't ask for help. They buried her in a hole, like no one would notice she was gone. You need to understand something. Every 40 seconds, a child is abducted, and 80% of abuse cases, they come from people the victim already knows. Emma never stood a chance, because the danger was inside the house. That's why we linked a family safety course in the description and first pinned comment. It's built for parents and kids. Teaches how to speak up, escape, and spot the signs. Because most danger doesn't wear a mask. It smiles. It hugs. It says, "I'll take care of her. Now stay with me." Because we're about to break down who really did it, how they got away with it for so long, and what one tiny clue finally cracked the case. Let's get into the full story. Emma's mom had problems. Drugs. She lost custody. So, her dad, Michael Cole, was trying to get back on his feet. He wanted to be there for his daughter. But while he worked on that, he left Emma with people he thought he could trust. Christy and Brandon Haas, Emma's aunt and uncle. They smiled in front of others, said all the right things. "We'll keep her safe. She's part of the family." They lied. Now here's the thing about abuse. It don't always leave bruises you can see. Sometimes it's silence. Sometimes it's no food, no hugs, no light. Emma stopped going to daycare. Neighbors didn't see her outside. No birthday parties. No playtime. She was locked inside the house day after day. Alone. Scared. Hungry. It was September 2019 when things got worse. Emma's body was shutting down. She was underweight, covered in sores. She couldn't even cry loud anymore. And one day she just stopped breathing. You know what Christy and Brandon did? They didn't call 911. Didn't scream for help. They dug a hole in the yard and buried her behind their shed, like trash. But the thing about the truth, it always wants out. And in October 2020, over a year later, police got a call. Someone tipped them off. Said there was a little girl buried in the yard of that house on West Meadow Avenue. The cops showed up, started digging, and there she was, little Emma, in a shallow grave, wrapped up in garbage bags. That moment, that's when the world finally found out. The news hit like a punch in the stomach. A child buried in the backyard. A trusted aunt and uncle under arrest. A baby girl gone for over a year, and no one knew. The medical examiner looked at Emma's body. What they found was heartbreaking. She was malnourished, bruised. She had been neglected for months. This didn't happen overnight. This was slow torture. And the worst part? Nobody checked on her. No school. No family visits. No safety net. She was just gone. According to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, 2023, a child goes missing every 40 seconds in the U.S. And in 80% of abuse cases, the abuser is someone the child already knows. Just like Emma. You might be asking, where was the system? Where were the neighbors? Why didn't anybody knock on that door? All good questions, but the answers don't bring her back. When police arrested Christy and Brandon Haas, they tried to lie, said Emma died in her sleep, so they didn't know what to do. But the evidence? It was too strong. Emma didn't just fall asleep and not wake up. She starved. She suffered, and nobody helped her. That's why we added a real family safety course in the video description and pinned comment. It's for parents. It's for kids. It shows what to do when something feels wrong. How to speak up. How to escape. How to protect each other, even from people you think you can trust. Because sometimes the monster ain't under the bed. It's standing in your kitchen. I wish I could say Emma's story ends with justice. But the pain doesn't stop when the trial ends. Her dad, he's broken. He trusted family, and they destroyed his baby girl. The neighbors? They still walk past that house and can't look. The town? It's quiet again, but different, colder. Emma's grave wasn't deep. That's what the officers said. Like they didn't even care if someone found her. Just threw dirt over her tiny body and walked away. But the police kept digging, and what they found made them stop cold. Emma was wrapped in black trash bags. Not a blanket, not a soft toy, just garbage bags. And there was a little pink shoe still on her foot. That's the thing that broke them. Not the body, not the grave, the shoe, because it reminded them she was just a baby. Now let's talk about how it all came out. Because for more than a year, nobody knew Emma was dead. No missing person report, no Amber Alert, not even question. It was like she vanished and no one noticed. But someone did. The tip came from a woman who knew Christy and Brandon. She told the police something felt wrong. Said she hadn't seen the little girl in a long time. Said Christy gave her weird answers when she asked about Emma. She's staying somewhere else. She's with her dad. She's fine. But Emma wasn't fine. She was already gone. When cops went to talk to Christy and Brandon, they acted cool, like it was all a misunderstanding. But you could tell something was off. Their stories didn't match. They looked nervous. And when the detective asked, "Where's Emma now?" they froze. That's when they knew they had to dig. They got a warrant, brought in the dogs, started searching the yard. Neighbors stood out on their porches, watching. Some whispered, others just stared, hands over their mouths. And when that little pink shoe came out of the dirt, you could feel the air leave the whole block. People cried. People got mad. One man threw his coffee and yelled, "How could they do this to a baby?" Nobody had answers. Christy cracked first. She told police Emma died in her sleep. Said they were scared, didn't know what to do. But that wasn't the truth. Brandon finally admitted what happened, sort of. He said Emma had been sick. They didn't take her to a doctor. Didn't want the system involved. So they left her there, getting weaker, day by day, until she stopped moving. The truth? They didn't feed her right. Didn't bathe her. Left her locked in a room with barely any light. She was losing weight fast. She had bruises, scratches, signs of old injuries that were never treated. She was dying slowly, and they let it happen. And when she passed, they didn't cry. They panicked, and they buried her behind a shed. But police weren't done. They checked the house. It was dirty, cluttered, old food in the sink, rotten smell in the air. But in one corner, they found Emma's things. A broken toy, a small blanket, and a paper with her name written in crayon. It was the only color in the room. Everything else felt gray. They took Christy and Brandon to jail, charged them both with child abuse, child endangerment, and tampering with a human corpse. People wanted more. They wanted murder charges. But prosecutors said it's not always easy, because Emma wasn't killed in a single blow. She was worn down, neglected, forgotten. It wasn't a moment. It was months. And the law can't always keep up with that kind of pain. In court, they showed pictures, talked about Emma's weight, talked about what she looked like the last time anyone saw her alive. The judge listened. The jury stared at the floor. One woman in the back sobbed so hard she had to leave. Even tough men, cops, guards, reporters, got quiet when Emma's name came up. Because deep down, we all know a little girl like her. In our families, on our street, at the store. That's what made it hit so hard. During the trial, Christy cried. Said she didn't mean for it to happen. Said she was overwhelmed. Brandon didn't say much. Just looked down. Wouldn't meet anyone's eyes. The prosecutor didn't hold back. He said, Emma didn't die in her sleep. She died from being ignored. She begged in ways only a child can beg. Through silence, through tears, and no one listened. The jury didn't take long. They found Christy and Brandon guilty of all charges. They're both serving time. Long sentences. But to Emma's family, it'll never be enough. Because justice can't bring her back. Can't unbury her. Can't undo those lonely nights. Emma's dad, he still talks to reporters. He says he blames himself. Says he should have never trusted them. Says he didn't know she was in danger. He wasn't perfect, but he loved her. And that's what makes it worse. He gave her to family. And family let her die. That's why we added a real family safety course. In the description and pinned comment, it's made by police and child safety experts. Teaches you how to see the signs, how to ask the right questions, how to protect your child, even from people you think you know. Because sometimes the danger smiles at you. Emma's last days were quiet. Too quiet. No cartoons. No warm food. No voices singing her to sleep. Just silence. And walls. Police later said she was kept in one room. Alone. They found a small mattress on the floor. No sheets. No toys. No nightlight. Just one pillow. And a bucket in the corner. That was her world. Imagine being 3 years old. And that's all you know. No hugs in the morning. No bedtime stories. No walks to the park. Just darkness. Cold air. And fear. Neighbors didn't hear screams. Because after a while, Emma stopped making noise. When kids cry and nobody comes, they learn to stay quiet. There were signs. Little signs. Doctors hadn't seen her in over a year. She wasn't enrolled in any daycare or pre-K. No regular checkups. No reports filed with social services. And no one knocked on that door to ask, "Where's Emma?" You ever notice how folks don't ask questions when the truth might hurt? That's what happened here. One neighbor remembered something. She told reporters she saw Emma in the yard once. Said she looked small, thin, didn't smile. That was a month before she vanished. She didn't think much of it at the time. Kids look sad sometimes. Now, she wishes she said something, called someone, done anything. But hindsight don't change the past. The detectives went back through records, tried to understand how Emma slipped through the cracks. They looked at family court papers, custody files. No red flags popped up. Christy and Brandon weren't in the system. No past abuse reports. No drug charges. Nothing. They were just another quiet couple in a quiet house. And that's what makes this story so dangerous. Because sometimes evil hides in plain sight. The autopsy showed Emma had old injuries, bruises that were healing, scratches on her arms, malnutrition signs in her bones, and a stomach almost empty. The doctor said her body was shutting down from lack of food, water, and care. No broken bones, no sign of one big injury. She didn't die from one hit. She died for being slowly forgotten. That's what makes this harder to talk about. It wasn't a moment. It was a pattern. And it wasn't just Emma. Police found out Christy and Brandon had other kids. Their biological kids. And guess what? They were okay. Fed, dressed, smiling in family photos. Emma was the outsider. Not their child. Not their blood. Just someone they were helping. They treated her like she was extra. Like she didn't count. So when things got hard, she paid the price. The prosecutor said something that stuck with me. He said, "There's a special kind of evil in people who treat their own well and destroy the one they didn't birth." And that hit, because love ain't about blood. It's about what you do, how you show up, how you care. And Christy and Brandon, they didn't care at all. When the photos from inside the house came out, the public lost it. You saw people online posting things like, "Monsters, let them rot. Bring back the death penalty." Because even strangers could feel how wrong it was. It didn't matter if they knew Emma. What mattered was that they saw her. They felt her pain. And they couldn't believe it had gone on so long without help. People started asking big questions. Where was Child Protective Services? Why didn't the daycare follow up? Why didn't the dad check him more often? And honestly, all of those questions are fair. Because this wasn't just one failure. This was a chain of silence. A broken system. Busy neighbors. Family secrets. And in the middle of it all, a little girl waiting for someone to come get her. According to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, 2022, over 600,000 children in America are abused or neglected every year. That's more than the population of some entire cities. And most of them, they're never on the news. They don't get documentaries. They just grow up hurt or don't grow up at all. Emma's death led to changes. Not big ones, but small ripples. In Delaware, officials reviewed child welfare policies. They looked into family placements, tried to spot cracks in the system. But that won't bring Emma back. It won't erase those 14 months in silence. Her dad, Michael Cole, asked for one thing. That people remember her name. Emma Grace Cole, not just as a victim, not just as a headline, but as a little girl who should have had a future, who should have gone to kindergarten, had birthday parties, made mistakes, grown up. That's why we tell stories like this. Not to make you scared, but to make you see. Because most real danger, it doesn't come with scary music. It doesn't look like the movies. It comes in quiet houses, with polite smiles, and fake promises. And that's why we put a real family safety course in the description and pinned comment. It teaches parents how to ask better questions, how to build trust with their kids, how to act when something feels off. 1 hour could change everything. And in Emma's case, it might have saved her life. The last photo of Emma Grace Cole is hard to look at. She's wearing a faded shirt. Her face looks tired. There's a tiny scratch above her eye. She's not smiling. She's not crying either. She just stares, like she knows something bad is coming, like she already gave up hope. That photo was taken weeks before she died, by Christy. And what makes it worse? Christy posted it online with a caption, "Emma being silly." That wasn't silly. That was pain. But folks didn't say anything, didn't comment, didn't ask, because nobody wants to believe a child's being hurt in the house right next door. So how did this finally break open? Not from family, not from school. It was one phone call, an anonymous tip to police. The caller said, "There's a little girl who hasn't been seen in over a year. Her name was Emma. She was staying with Christy and Brandon Haas." That was it. No details, no proof, just a voice saying, "Check the backyard." And thank God someone listened. The detective on duty didn't wait. She drove out that same day, knocked on the door, looked Christy in the eye and asked, "Where's Emma?" Christy froze. Brandon stepped in, said Emma was with her dad, but they couldn't give an address. No phone number, no real story. That's when the red flags went up. They got a warrant that night. The next day, officers came with shovels and dogs. Neighbors gathered, wondering what was going on. Then, the digging started. The backyard was still. Birds chirping, nothing unusual, until a dog stopped by the shed, started barking, then scratching. Right there, under the weeds and leaves, was the grave. It didn't take long. The dirt was soft, like someone hadn't dug deep enough. And when they found the trash bags, everyone went quiet. No one could speak. Some officers had to turn away. The autopsy confirmed it was Emma. Her body was small, her bones fragile, no major trauma, but her organs showed signs of starvation, severe dehydration, untreated infections. She hadn't been taken to a doctor in over a year. She hadn't seen sunlight, hadn't been held. She had died alone, slowly, while other kids played in the next room. In the interviews, Christy told officers, "We didn't mean to hurt her." But one cop asked, "When's the last time you fed her?" She said she didn't remember. 3 years old, and she couldn't remember the last time she fed her. Brandon said Emma had become too much. They felt overwhelmed, so they stopped checking on her. They just let her fade. Emma's dad was called into the station, told the truth. He hadn't seen his daughter in months. He thought Christy and Brandon were keeping her safe. He cried during the whole interview, punched the table, asked the same question over and over. "Why didn't they call me?" There was a trial. Photos were shown. Text messages revealed. And that last picture, the one with Emma's empty stare, was put on a big screen in front of the jury. One juror cried. Another had to be replaced. Even the defense lawyer couldn't look up. Christy and Brandon were found guilty on all counts. Child abuse, child endangerment, concealing a death, tampering with a corpse. The judge gave them long prison sentences and told them straight, "You had every chance to save her. Instead, you chose to let her die." After the sentencing, the courtroom emptied out. But Emma's dad stayed. He sat in the last row, hands shaking, holding a small picture of Emma in better days. She was laughing in that one. Pink dress, ice cream on her chin. That's the Emma he remembers, not the one in the dirt. Today, there's a small memorial in Smyrna, right near the house where she died. People leave flowers, teddy bears, notes written in crayon. "Fly high, Emma. We're sorry. You mattered." Her story has been told across the country, and every time it's shared, someone sees a warning sign they didn't notice before. Someone speaks up, calls a school, checks in on a neighbor, listens when a kid says, "I'm scared." According to the CDC 2022, 1 in 7 children in the U.S. have experienced child abuse or neglect in the past year. Source: Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, 2022. That's 1 in every classroom, every park, every neighborhood. So what can you do? You watch, you ask, you act. And if you've got kids in your life, your own or someone else's, take 1 hour to learn what danger looks like. We put a real family safety course in the description and pinned comment, made by real experts. No fluff, just the stuff that saves lives. Because what happened to Emma should never happen again. Her name was Emma Grace Cole. She was 3. She was kind. She loved the color pink. She should be alive today. But now she's a lesson, a warning, a memory.